Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Tim, and today we're going to be watching some creepy, mysterious, and even some spooky videos together. So grab a blanket, grab a snack, or even a coffee, and without further ado, let's get it.
Is this some kind of a joke?
Yep, even Tom and Jerry.
Mouse? This show is about crazy stunts and people putting their lives at risk for a big fat prize. It's not a nature documentary. Irving, call security and have these two...
Sir, it's...
I told you, not just Gravity Falls. Tom and Jerry too. All of them.
This always gives me the creeps, sir.
He's the president of Hollywood.
You want to see what the president of Hollywood looks like?
The creeps.
Just like I thought he would. Like the devil.
Greetings, your
Look.
tinseliness.
Bow down and worship him.
Hollywood.
I'll give you all the kingdoms of the earth. Some people took that deal. They're called executives, producers.
I'm terrified.
Harvey Weinstein, anyone?
Now you look, JW. The girls and I overheard what you were saying about this cat.
I think for me, it's the bowing down. It's like, come on, really? Just hidden in plain sight, right? Hashtag not my Tom and Jerry.
Years ago, George Carlin knew the truth.
There is no national conspiracy to buy elections and control America.
You don't need a formal conspiracy.
Right.
When interests converge, these people went to the same universities and fraternities. They're on the same boards of directors. They're in the same country clubs. They have like interests. They don't need to call a meeting. They know what's good for them, and they're getting it. And there used to be 7 oil companies. There are now 3. It will soon be 2. The things that matter in this country have been reduced in choice. There are 2 political parties. There are a handful of insurance companies. There are about 6 or 7 information things. But if you want a bagel, there are 23 flavors because you have the illusion. You have the illusion of choice. Right.
I remember hearing and reading stuff like this about stuff in sales. This whole thing of the illusion of choice being used in sales. So I would not be surprised that they're they're using it on the government level as well. See, my thought process is like, if the higher-ups don't have really any moral standards, and they have bad moral standards, and they're not based on Christian moral standards, it really wouldn't surprise me if the higher-ups use these psychological tactics at the government level.
Do we have guardian angels? Watch this.
So would it be safe to say that angels are the equivalent of good to a demon?
I'll give you an example. Billy Graham tells a story. There was a true story of a missionary from Scotland who was in a South Pacific island. The local tribe got very upset that he was there to talk about Jesus, and they went to murder him and his family. And they came and surrounded his house. This mob is intent on killing us. And so they prayed all night, God protect us. And the mob by dawn dissipated and nothing happened. Well, the leader of that mob later became a Christian, and that missionary talked to him and said, hey, what happened that one night? And he said, well, we couldn't do it with all those men you had guarding the house. He said, what are you talking about? I didn't have any men guarding the house. He said, no, we saw them. There were these men, they had swords that were drawn, and they surrounded your house, and we figured there's no way we can go in and attack these people in light of these guards around the house. Well, who are they? They were angels.
The Lord is our protector. The Lord is our protector. He is our shield. He is our defender. Place your trust in him. And I believe that he'll do the same with you. Another thought that I had on that is that I feel like I don't really hear too much about like angels, a lot about the supernatural realm in church. And I think it needs to be brought up more.
Beloved, urgent warning to anyone who owns a water meter. There are a group of Philistines across the nation running around filling these boxes with concrete.
What the?
$6.99 at Home Depot. Why would they do this? Well, it's so it can't be shut off.
Yikes. Wish the guy would have shown some like examples of like pictures and like what's actually happening that he's talking about. It's the first time I heard about this, and if it's all true, that is messed up. That is messed up. Don't do that. Why would you do that?
This ramen shop server outside Chicago just took it a step further.
I paid for my food. What are you talking? Why are you following me down the street? You need to get the back. I handed you $20. You can't charge me more than what the menu say. So what are you talking about? Bro, I'm not legally required to give you a tip. Get the back. Get back. You piece of shit. I'm not trying to yell at me. I'm not trying to with you, bro. You shut your gut. I'm not mouth, man. How am I staff supposed to make money, huh? So raise your price, huh? Bro, we can solve this. Chill, bro.
Now, he eventually went on the local news to try to apologize.
He's sorry, and his door's open to the other person involved.
Have you watched the video?
Yes. I was just ashamed, you know, bring shame to my wife as a husband, you know, as an owner, you know, at the same time, you know, to my mom and dad.
Table sticks, so can I help you?
Hey, food, okay?
I'm sorry?
Let me order some food, stupid.
The backlash has forced them to stop taking calls, deactivate their social media.
I apologized to him and to his family, and I was asking if he can pass this message along to his little brother.
Adding he sent the brother home with the customer's favorite order, a handwritten apology.
But that didn't work, as the community called him anti-black, where they wanted the restaurant gone, saying it's not a safe space for them. They even protested outside the shop for over an hour.
What do we want? Justice! If we don't get it, shut it down! If we don't get it, shut it down! If we don't, all they do is disrespect the black community! Yeah. We don't want no apology! If we don't get it, shut it down!
And even though he publicly apologized, again, it still wasn't enough for the community. Trying to make this about race, again. Talking about criminal charges, and criticizing the mayor for not attending the protest. This got out of hand so fast, you'd forget this was about ramen. Now, I've worked at several restaurants, from breakfast spots to steakhouses, and even high-class Chinese restaurants, and if you can guess the chains in the comments, that would be impressive. But even as someone that once lived off tips, that ramen dude is an idiot, and deserves every bit of this. Not only for going after a customer over a stiff tip, but also trying to apologize to the mob, thinking it's somehow going to get them off your back. As cancel culture has never been satisfied with a sorry, it's about having power over someone you normally would not. As their entire Yelp page has been flagged for brigading, where people from Maryland criticize them over the viral video, all the way across the country in California they're doing the same, and even curiously giving them a 5-star review, but saying they're like a gang extorting money. Now, it seemed like they were giving the same canned reply to everybody, and someone pointed out that their reply on Google accidentally included the ChatGPT prompt attached to the top of their apology. Now, I couldn't find that comment myself, so I can't verify that specific response, but the canned reply all over their Yelp reviews also appears to be 100% ChatGPT generated. It's almost like they said, hey, that guy messed up and forever ruined our reputation, but how can we make this progressively worse every step of the way? Because the simple solution would be just to fire the guy, and even if he's an owner, fire him anyways. Publicly side with the community on how chasing down customers for extra cash is unacceptable, because this whole entitlement to tips is getting out of hand. As I happily tip 20% plus on great service, and 10% if I feel they did the bare minimum. But if there is any expectation, trickery, or even social pressure that I leave a tip, I simply never return. Self-serve kiosk autofilling a 20% tip? Never again. Server drops off a check, but they already circled the 20, 25, 30% tip calculation? You're out of your mind. I even get annoyed at restaurants that prompt you to tip before you've even received your food. That's like when you watch a YouTube channel, and in the first 5 seconds, they already tell you to like and subscribe. How about you let me decide if this is trash or not before you ask me for anything?
That is painful. You know, in the past, I have worked as a server once, and definitely had its brutal times, but we're not entitled. You're definitely not entitled to get anything extra. A tip is something that's earned and something that's determined by the customer. That's my opinion, coming from a former server myself. It's a really good lesson to see how far a bad decision can go and the repercussions of a bad decision.
A lot of times when the angels show up on Earth and appear to people, they're just described as men. But for some reason, people know that they're angels when they show up. So they're like men, but they must be something different. Maybe there's something more. Perhaps they were like Greek gods. They were tall, maybe they were good looking. There was something about them that they were angelic. There was something different about them.
Now, there's stories and connections in the Bible that align with Greek mythology. Like, for instance, Hercules. Hercules' text lines up with the story of Samson in so many unusual ways. The story of Hercules, he rips the gates off of a city and carries them up a mountain. Well, Samson ripped the gates off a city and carries them up a mountain.
When Peter talks about angels being in Tartarus, well, Tartarus was a place at the lowest place in hell. Tartarus was the bottomless pit, which is interesting when the Greek mythology talked about the real bad beings being stuck in Tartarus. Maybe they're talking about the same place.
I really find this fascinating, how the Greek mythological pantheon were actually based on real beings. In other words, the Nephilim, or the giants that were talked about in Genesis. You know, we see giants all across the New Testament, right? A good connection point to this is also the Book of Enoch. Giants, very fascinating, very fascinating. Now, if you guys have any videos that you want to see on this channel, definitely put them down in the comments down below. Now, let's get back into it.
The Titanic mocked God. Watch this.
He actually said, and the mantra of the day was, God himself could not sink the ship. And everybody began to say that. And friends, I want to tell you, when you're so big and you name yourself the biggest of the biggest and the first of the first, you're going to end up the smallest of the smallest and the last of the last. And you are not unsinkable. You are unsavable. It's the biggest, boldest, most incredible thing that anybody had ever seen back in 1912. I could talk about all the glorious things about it. And I mean, I've studied it hardcore, and I'd love to talk to you about the boiler room. And of course, they had technology that no other cruise ship had. You know, they had the ability to send a telegraph without a wire. It was the very first of so many different things. But not only, friends, did they not glorify God, they rubbed their own glory in God's face, believing that there were no consequences for doing so. I want to show you guys a picture of what the Titanic looked like on the day that it set sail in all of its glory. This is a beautiful picture. Now I'm going to show you what it looks like today. As they were increased, so they sinned against me. Therefore, I will change their glory into shame.
The first will be last, and the last will be first. And those who humble themselves will be exalted, and those who exalt themselves will be humbled. Isn't that what Jesus said, right? Oh my gosh. Wow, that is scary. That's a different type of scary, not type of ghost horror movie scary. Goodness gracious.
The Italians are 3 times less obese and diabetic than us. I don't think the Italians, are more vigorous. I don't think Americans are lazier than Italians. Like, there's something systemic happening where they spend 3 times less per capita on healthcare and 2 times more per capita on food.
And they're living 8 years longer.
8 years longer.
Well, and everybody notices it when you go over there and eat.
Yeah. You feel good.
You feel good.
Eat that pizza.
Yeah.
It's like the only place in the world I can eat gluten because it doesn't destroy my gut. Yeah.
It's crazy.
I feel like I hear like multiple different times. And it's really telling that there must be something wrong with the food here in America. I hear multiple stories of people going overseas. Wow, pasta just tastes great. I guess I have to make a trip over to Italy to find out myself.
The most dangerous food for your body is not sugar.
Oh my gosh.
It's not fried chicken.
I don't like these.
It's not even soda. This food is hiding in almost everything you eat. This food causes something called oxidative stress. That's when your cells are attacked by unstable molecules called free radicals. It's like your organs are slowly rusting from the inside. Your liver, your brain, your heart, all under silent attack every single day. It promotes chronic inflammation, which leads to hormone imbalance, heart disease, and even cancer. And the scariest part? Most people eat this food every single day without knowing. This food is vegetable seed oils, like sunflower oil, canola oil, corn oil, soybean oil. They're cheap, processed, and loaded with unstable omega-6 fats. These oils were never meant for human consumption. They were industrial lubricants. Check your labels. Cut them out of your life.
The seed oils, people be talking about the seed oils recently, right? That's one of the big things, the health stuff. And I did hear about the free radicals, but maybe we should all get out of America.
You guys want to hear something terrifying? The prophecy of the popes.
Oh boy.
This book in the Vatican archives predicted every single pope from 1143 all the way to our current pope. But the scary thing is, after Pope Francis, the last one, it just says Judgment Day.
Oh gosh.
It literally ends after Pope Francis?
Yes. The creepiest thing, inside St. Paul's Basilica, bordering the whole inner sanctuary, is a picture of every single pope. But what's weird is that there's only a certain amount of markers where you can put a picture. There's one left after Pope Francis. They have always said once that last slot is filled, it will be the end of the world. What he predicted, the time it took to go from the first pope that he wrote about to the halfway mark was 422 years. And he's saying from the middle one to the end, another 422 years will be the end of the world. If you do 422 in the middle pope, which was 1585, that year is 2027.
Dang!
It's even weirder. Pope John the 23rd, he said that the end of the world would happen 2,000 years plus Christ's life. So that adds up to 2027 as well.
Everything with the Pope, it's like people, it's the conversation. It's the conversation now. I have no idea how everything's gonna unfold in the end, but all I know is that my trust is in Jesus, and what do you know? He is victorious in the end. Nothing's gonna be able to conquer Jesus. Jesus overcomes and is victorious at the end. I invite you, come into Jesus' kingdom. There's an abundance of life that Jesus offers you. So highly encourage you, place your trust in Jesus.
This is our cold water pressure in the kitchen. This is where I fill up water for storage. Those are the things we have to fill up to flush the toilets.
So you can see the sediment from the data center. Wow, and that's just from the water coming out of your faucet.
Yeah. And this is what's in all the pipes. It's overwhelming because you really feel like you are up against this huge wall that you can't penetrate. There's nothing that you can do, and they don't care.
I'm here in Mansfield, Georgia, driving by Meta's new 2 million square foot data center facility. Facilities like this are being used to power things like ChatGPT and other AI tools that are becoming integrated into our daily life.
Data centers, going to be a very hot item.
This entire supercomputer is built to power Grok.
We see data centers as the most exciting asset class.
Meta is building a 2 gigawatt plus data center that is so large it would cover a significant part of Manhattan.
But data centers come with big costs. From light and noise pollution to the environmental impacts, to the potential rising costs of energy bills, these facilities put extraordinary demand on the power grid and require entirely new infrastructure.
Oh my God. They should be responsible for that, not us.
Search the internet for profits that Meta has made, Amazon, Microsoft. They can afford to pay for their own generation.
Your house is here, and the data center is right there.
It's less than 400 yards.
Beverly and Jeff Morris bought their home an hour's drive from downtown Atlanta in 2016, but their roots in the community run much deeper.
Being in the country has always just been my peace and my therapy. When we found this place, we decided that this was it. It was perfect.
I was actually raised probably 5 miles from here. It felt like coming home.
The data center that's now the Morris' next door neighbor happens to be owned by Meta, the company you know for Facebook and Instagram, but has also been breaking into artificial intelligence. They started construction on this data center campus in 2018.
Definitely changed everything. They destroyed the environment, taking down all the trees across the road.
Beautiful pines, beautiful forest.
The light pollution is...
You don't have to have a night light in the house. You can walk around the house at night. See everything. It's that bright.
Oh my gosh, that's terrible, man. How can that should not be legal to be able to do that. But I mean, they do got money, right? So it's the ones with the money, right, that are able to pull the strings and behind the scenes, and it's the people that come last.
Watch this.
Where did you read Jesus is God? I've never read that. That's what Muslims will tell you. That's what Jehovah's Witness will tell you. Where does it say it? Easy. You go to Hebrews chapter 1, verse 8. These two
words will blow away the argument that Jesus is not God. 2 little words. But unto the Son, God says, the Father says, thy throne, O God, is forever and ever. Stop. God, the Father, tells God, the Son, thy throne, O God, is forever and ever. The words, O God, destroys the other cults. Thy throne, O God. God the Father calls Jesus Christ God, and he says, your throne is forever and ever. That's great, but they'll still argue with you. If you go on a little further in the book of Hebrews, not only does it call Jesus God, it tells you that Jesus Christ created the heavens, they're the work of his hands, and the earth, he laid the foundation of the earth.
I watched this video by Michael Heiser as well. Michael Heiser makes a good, compelling case that wisdom in the book of Proverbs is talking about and points to Jesus.